guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over this great email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is 32 years old. He is a software engineer, and he's writing in to share how he is at a point in his life that he is now having the last laugh against all those that gave him a hard time when he was younger, rejected him, all that. He is starting to definitely have success. He's happy with who he is, comfortable with himself, and recently he went back home, I guess, to his small town to visit his family, and lots of single gals are interested in him. The same type of gals that obviously wouldn't give him the time of day when he was much younger. Because you're going to see in his story back in high school, he was bullied a lot, humiliated in front of girls, rejected, all that. And I'm sure there are guys out there that were in a situation just like him. But because this guy didn't let that keep him down, this guy made something of himself, he's doing well, he's happy in his life. He has this knowledge of what he's gained in this channel and other ones. He's doing great. And now they're after him. And he's enjoying rejecting every single one of them because he's not interested in them for various reasons. And he's in no rush to get in a relationship, let alone get married. So that'll be a very good one here to show you guys that if you are in a period in your life right now that you aren't thinking too highly of yourself, you're rejected, not just by women, but by people in general, believe me, if you work on yourself, you make it your mission that you're going to, one day at a time, improve yourself physically, your personality, your social skills, moving up in the world, making something of yourself, you will truly have the last laugh. Believe me, okay? And of course, you do it for yourself. You do it to make your life happy and better, not to, get even with other people. But if that makes you feel better, knock yourself out. There's no greater feeling than revenge, and success is the best revenge. So let me go on here to go over here on a Tuesday. But real quick, I'm going to start off with a quick email from a dude from Hungary thanking me for my work. This guy says here, "Good day, SSM. I have a quick one to share with you about your influence on me as a male, father, and a man. I didn't have a good role model since my father was spending months away from us because of his job and had to learn the hard way." It's always the same story. These young guys don't have a masculine role model at all, or not around very often. Or the guys they do have were the typical, nice guy types. And the boys didn't get the role model they needed. I'm a subscriber of all your channels, and after watching 90% of the entire content, I must thank you for the constant smacks. The heads up that you give to people that I certainly needed too. You help us be the best men we can be, and may your community keep growing, leading humanity in good times that strong men create. Well, thank you, brother, and that's my goal. I'm 40 years old, and I was a typical blue pill nice guy, but at least I had my standards that I never broke. My wife is soft, feminine, non-smoker drinker, and no mutilating medals or tattoos. Despite a few injuries that did not properly heal yet, after a slow morning start, I feel capable of everything. Well, I'm glad you got yourself a good girl, and she's traditional and feminine and all that, so good for you. Last night I had a dream. My wife was talking with a smoking sales guy I left her with while I was away from some other business. When I returned, she was alone and smoking a cigarette too. And I asked her, "Are you smoking to mask the breath you have after you accepted the puff ordered from his own smoking cigarettes?" And she stares at me knowing that I know that what she did and tried to fool me. And I said, "Fuck it, I'm done with you." That was his dream. In other words, in his dream, he handled things the way he should have. I'm sure many of you guys have had dreams where you think it feels like it's real, and you're going to respond usually how you would in reality. So in reality, his wife pulled some BS, and he called her on it and checked it and said, "We're done." So there you go. You've learned something. You got standards and all that. So shout out to the Hungarian brothers that are watching me there. Now on to the main story. This guy says, "Hey man, hope you're doing well. This isn't a story about a cheating or belligerent ex, but I hope you and your viewers find it entertaining nonetheless. To start off, a quick background about me. I am a 32-year-old software developer and a part-time entrepreneur. I grew up in a Catholic household in between two sisters, who I'm close with to this day. Imagine that. Growing up, I am quite ashamed to say I read a couple of romance novels and watched some movies, which made me fairly blue-pilled to put it mildly. Smack! We've all seen the rom-coms with girlfriends and wives and all that, but you're reading romance novels? Well, maybe I can say, I'll give you a pass and say you're doing that for research purposes. to see the bullshit that's being told in those stories that gets in these gals' minds. And of course, the romantic comedies showing you how not to be as a guy, but they, of course, guys will follow what the dudes do in romantic comedies. I had a fairly decent childhood, but a god-awful time in high school. I was bullied often and humiliated in front of girls I liked. Unfortunately, I had not a shred of self-esteem, so I didn't stand up for myself. This is why all young guys need a very strong masculine role model to help them. This is also why young guys, in my opinion, should start off as children in some form of self-defense, martial arts, something that can help them build their self-esteem, and also some basic fighting skills, because there are assholes out there, and if a kid feels weak and he can't stand up for himself, it's going to have a ripple effect in his whole life. A lot of guys will go through their whole life being George McFly before Marty McFly went to the past and changed things, and you get my point. And it'll have a ripple effect in your life. Thank God you're able to turn things around. I started going into therapy my first year of college, and my confidence has grown since then. Good, brother. My RP journey began when one girl, we'll call her Brittany, actually showed an interest in me my final year of high school. We dated for 6 years until she just up and left me for some random bastard. That sucks. This deeply hurt me to think I had considered proposing to her. I haven't been remotely interested in serious relationships ever since. I mostly love and leave girls now. So, right there. And women wonder why guys act the way they do. It's because, well, we've been burned. We were good guys and all that, and we get badly burned, and we see reality for what it is. Without further ado, on to the main story. This is something that happened 5 years ago. Okay, this is 5 years ago. My bad. So you've grown since. I was visiting my hometown, and I went to the church I haven't been to since I started college. I'm not religious, but I thought I'd just stop to see some old faces and friends. Among them were two women in their mid-20s, Marissa and Beth. They are the focal points to this story. Going back to visit the small town you grew up in. It's like me. About twice a year I go back to where I grew up, seeing the old sites, and I always run into somebody I grew up with that I knew in church or high school, and it's just amazing. You see people, and by and large, most people I see when I go back to the old area, they barely look anything like they did 25 years ago when I was in high school, and they look at me and they're like, oh my God, you're 45? Or whatever age I am. They always think I'm way younger. They can't believe it. It's like, this is what you do when you take care of yourself. Marissa's mother is good friends with my mom, and the next day, Marissa invited me to lunch at her house. I thought to myself, why not? It'd be cool to catch up. So I agreed. Little did I know, Marissa wasn't the one who actually wanted me there. You see, she lived with her mother. Here we go, the old going to church, and you got the single man here, and the mothers with their single daughters are trying to play matchmaker with your mother and all that. I got to her place and had lunch with Marissa and her mother. When we finished eating, her mother gathered the dishes and with a war smile on her face said, I'll leave you two alone. And you're thinking, great. Like you couldn't see through this one, dude. We made some small talk. She said that she was studying for her master's to advance in her career in finance. I left her house after a while, and her mother said Marissa would love to do this again. I just chuckled to myself and left. Does Marissa have a hard time getting guys? That her mother has to do all this stuff? Marissa doesn't sound too into him, unless she is, but she's just so goddamn shy she can't do anything about it. I don't know. Over the next 2 weeks, Marissa's mother would try to get me to talk with Marissa, but I would politely decline. Very smart. You have her number now. Did I mention Marissa was in her mid-20s? My mom would tell me of Marissa's mother joking around saying, hey, maybe he'll, meaning me, be my son-in-law one day. I found that quite amusing. Now, Marissa was reasonably attractive, but I most certainly wasn't going to marry her and grant her mother's wishes. Well, if you're 32 now, and that was 5 years ago, you're about 27 years old, you're just starting, obviously, in your making your way in this world in your career. Obviously, at this point, then, you obviously had gained a lot of knowledge. You're comfortable who you are. Why the fuck would you just suddenly just pick some girl from your small town that you're choosing not to live in anyway? Right? Your prime is really just starting to begin. While these girls in the small town who wouldn't give you the time of day when you're younger, their prime is ending. Then one day, Marissa's mother came to my mom's house. I had been staying there during the visit. She was pleased to see me. After talking to my mother, she started to me. I was friendly, but I tried to cut the conversation short. She said to me, Marissa can't shut up about you. You two would look so adorable together. I rolled my eyes. Now was definitely the time to burst her bubble. I politely informed her that I simply wasn't interested in her daughter and wouldn't date her under any circumstances. She was taken aback by this, but quickly regained her composure. She then says, "Oh, but if you could just give her a chance, you never know." No, I know. I appreciate the lunch you invited me to, even though obviously you had intentions for that lunch, but I'm simply not interested in your daughter or getting together with anybody right now. And by the way, I don't live in this small town. There's a reason I left. I didn't let her finish her sentence. I bid goodbye and walked out of the house. Marissa must have been offended by my actions as she stopped talking to me that day. I guess that was the end of it. Hey, if women are allowed to reject guys for whatever reasons they do, and sometimes, and most certainly there are times it's warranted, then guys can do that too. But it's interesting that when guys are the ones rejecting, they're the root of all fucking evil. Then we move on to Beth. Beth didn't need her mother to play matchmaker at this time. She would do all the work herself. I bumped into her one day as I was going for a walk in the neighborhood. We exchanged hugs and began talking about how our lives had been. By the sound of it, my guess is she was a retired carousel rider. There is no such thing as a retired carousel rider. They'll take a break to rope in the guy they want to marry, typically the nice guy, put a ring on their finger, all that, and once he's fallen for her, and she knows she's got him, he ain't going anywhere, that's when the carousel riding ways often kick back into gear. Okay, they're never retired, not true carousel riders. That's when they start proposing open marriages or cheating and all that. You must think I'm cynical as hell, guys, but I've been around the block. She took out her phone and began scrolling through her gallery to show me an invite to a party. Before she got to the screenshot, she scrolled past a selfie of herself in a bikini. She giggled and said, "Oops, you weren't supposed to see that." Bullshit. That was well planned out so you could see a picture of her in the bikini to rope you in. She then asked me if I wanted to go to the party, to which I replied, "I'd think about it, but I didn't go." Yeah. Thanks for the invite. That's very nice. All these gals are after me, but no, I'm here to visit my family. I'm not interested, especially not someone that I know darn well was a carousel rider, and obviously wouldn't give me the time of day when I was younger. They were giving him hugs and all that. You notice this, guys? You ever meet people that you knew back in... Okay, let me rephrase that. You guys ever been back to your hometown, or maybe you live in your hometown, and you run into somebody you haven't seen in 20 years, and it's not like you were really friends with them, you were acquainted, but then they all of a sudden, and they're usually women are like this, all of a sudden act like you were their best friend, and they talk you off, and maybe you sat next to them during one semester in freaking geometry class or something, or Spanish class. You small talk, you didn't really know each other, but they act like you're your best friend. That's what I'm kind of picturing here. They knew him, but they weren't certainly not interested in him. 2 days later, she texted me a couple of pictures of herself with a group of other people saying, "See, we had fun. You really should have come." I just said, "Oh well," and carried on about my day. See how indifferent this guy is? He's happy with who he is in his life, and he's completely indifferent to all these gals, and they won't stop coming after him. The next evening, she said, "We should get coffee sometime and properly catch up." I responded saying, "Sorry, I'm too busy at the moment." He's treating them exactly the way that gals treat the guys. Although she was very attractive and I considered taking her up on her offer, word would spread about our fling. Our church is pretty small, and the last thing I needed was people knowing my business. Anyway, Beth, of course, wasn't deterred, and she kept trying to set up a date with me. You're probably making her crazy. This girl, as you say, is a former carousel rider, pretty girl in her 20s still. It's probably making her crazy that you're not jumping at the opportunity to go to the party with her, have coffee with her, hang out with her. You just like whatever. They love the challenge. This is why having your shit together, guys, and being comfortable with who you are, confident in who you are, indifferent, you can take them or leave them, no rush, drives them nuts. Of course, this is what you want to do. The week before I concluded my visit, Beth asked me straight up, "I'm sorry, are you gay? I don't want to be a creep." In other words, you're not chasing after me, then you must be into dudes. There's no other reason that you wouldn't be chasing after me because I'm so amazing. I said, "No, you're just not my type." She actually tried calling me after that, and I didn't pick up. I opted not to pass by church that week. Things would be way too awkward considering what transpired. My mother did say to me, though, "You really should start thinking about settling down, son." Get the hell out of here. Of course your mother's saying that. That's what mothers do. Mom wants to become a grandma one day. Mom wants to have a big wedding and she can be the mother of the groom and have her day and all that. That's what moms do. Believe me, I know. But you have no interest in marriage or relationships and all that. You're living your life. You're kicking ass. She also says you're not getting any younger. That doesn't matter for men, Mom. As long as we're doing well for ourselves, taking care of our health, physically and all that, doesn't make a difference when we get older. I could be 50 years old and marry some 25-year-old. My dad pretty much did that. And be just fine. I politely told her that I was simply far too busy for that. And she gave me a look of disapproval. Don't let that look from Mom manipulate you. Do what you want to do, bro. I left the town and didn't pass by the church whenever I visit anymore. As for my sisters, they know better than to set me up with one of their friends. Time will tell, though. Anyway, relationships are the last thing on my priority list, and I plan on picking up hobbies such as photography and culinary arts once I quit my job. And with that, SSM is the end of my story. If you decide to not share it, no hard feelings. I stumbled upon your channel back in 2021. You really are a positive force for men in the world. Cheers, and keep doing what you're doing. Bro, that was a really good story. Wasn't some crazy revenge story or any crazy bullshit or anything like that. It's just a good story about a guy. Started off like a lot of guys. High school was a living hell and no self-esteem, picked on, girls wouldn't give him the time of day. And he got his heart broken badly by some girl just up and left him. He didn't crash. He didn't, fall apart. He made something of himself. He's doing well for himself. He's software engineer, software something, whatever the hell it was, software developer. Obviously makes some money. He's working on side business as an entrepreneur. You can tell he's obviously very comfortable with who he is, and he has this knowledge. And early 30s. This guy's in his prime. His prime has just begun. While those gals that he met back in his small town 5 years ago, their prime is coming to an end. And that is why they're chasing after him. And, of course, because the guy's doing well for himself. And you can tell he's indifferent. That's what happens, guys. We don't give a shit. Okay? So, bro, great story. I really wish you well. Keep doing what you're doing. And now you're 32 years old now. You got your whole life ahead of you. So keep on your grind. If you got a dream about starting a business one day, just make sure you really do your homework on it, okay? Save up a lot of money so that when eventually you get to the point that you have to quit your regular job, you got a good cushion to take care of yourself. Don't just quit and just assume it's going to work out. And you got to start your side business while you're running your career, and you can build that up, which means you're going to be working your ass off. Okay, trust me on that right now. It'll be worth it. Don't let women or anybody else deter you on your path, and you're going to have one hell of a good life. And I can tell you got a good life already. You got your shit together, but it can get better and better. Just stay on it, and I think that's awesome. And also, don't let anybody pressure you into doing anything you don't want to do, relationships, whatever. But once you eventually start a business, make sure you find a mentor, somebody that's been around the block, has business experience that can really help guide you with regards to getting everything set up and run properly from the beginning. You don't want to fuck things up. You want to be on the right path when you start off. All right, guys, that was it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. Let him know what you think for him handling it like a boss. It's a great story. Again, this isn't some crazy story, but it's a really good one just to show you guys. You can get your life together and certainly have the last laugh. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.